Scatter Signal has a rare trait here for a craftable weapon. It's worthy of 2 crafts technically, definitely for PvE. As far as the Crucible, it really depends on where you find value. And in both sections of the game, I'm going to talk about some competitors as well. We have 3 strand fusions currently, the high impact Nox. You want something like Envious Controlled Burst. There's the Iron Banner's Pressurized Precision, Discord, a number of things. And then we have Scatter Signal, a seasonal rapid fire frame being highlighted as a seasonal weapon. It's craftable, so that's a big plus for it. And I'm going to try something new as I go forward. Please let me know how you like it. It's a brief thing. The goal is to get out of the way my main overall thoughts. And if you leave early, you get the gist of what was said, but it's to set up the flow of the video, of the review. And I'm going to talk about some of these points as I go on, the reasoning why I rank them that way. So I want to introduce the Scorecard Overview. It's out of 5 stars. How this weapon stands in my mind. In PvE, 4.5 out of 5. The majority of the good things said about it today are PvE centered. PvP, 2.5 stars. It's midline, not the best, not the greatest. Niche in certain areas, there are some things to talk about. There's some things that it does really, really well, but it's going to be dependent on the player. Meta relevance, 4.5. It's high. And as I go through this review, it's a weapon that is dependable, and you're going to have no issues bringing it into a variety of content. Again, PvE weighs a lot here for its meta relevance. The fun factor, 3. A little over midline, nothing spectacular about what you're doing with it. The build flexibility, 5. Any subclass, any character, slot it right in. As far as it being a must-have, 5. And I say that for 3 reasons. 1, it's the longest season like ever, meaning you should be able to get the red borders. Get it. 2, the artifact plays in this weapon. It's a long season, there's a lot of benefit there. And 3, it does things others can't do, period. So the overall score for me, as I view it, is a 4.08 out of 5. That's the whole overview of the weapon. PvE specifically, taking away the PvP score, 4.4 out of 5. It's a great weapon. Rapid fire, a great origin trait, Dragon's Vengeance. When an ally dies or you reach critical health, this weapon's magazine refills, it gains bonus range, charge rate, and handling. So I'm going to talk about this as far as PvE content, PvP content. Since it's a fusion rifle, it does benefit from the charge time. It's like 5%, 6%. A frame or 2, it is faster. The range is small. I've always thought that it was like 5 range, 8 handling. And a big part is the magazine refill. Again, we're going to talk about this as we go on. And the origin trait, such a big part of the weapon, it influenced how I crafted mine. In PvE, I do have strong suggestions there. Do what you want. And in the Crucible, it's a little bit more lenient. It depends on how you want to play it, what you want it to do. But let's start with PvP. On the journey here, I tried a number of combinations. Most of them. And for mine, I kept one thing pretty standard. Why I like the rapid fires. And that's simply the speed. I do have a charge time masterwork on all of these. And what you need to consider here, with any weapon really, don't try to make it something that it's not, because it's going to be a lesser version of it. You need to elevate its strengths and overall fill in what makes a particular weapon shine. That's what needs to happen. When it comes to the Crucible, fusion rifles, 3 things are in play: range, stability, charge rate. Remember, they nerfed the fall-off floor for fusion rifles, so when they get into fall-off, they really just fall off. So you want to keep that damage as much as possible, so your range needs to be pretty good. The stability needs to be pretty good, so your bolts will land, and then the charge rate, right? On all of mine, I said I had the charge time masterwork, and this is why. Ton of fusions out there. Unless someone gets successful warm-up on you, this is going to get the jump on other fusions, and I've done it many times. With that masterwork, we get it to a 460 charge time, and then we have the origin trait. So it gets the charge time to around 437 because of Dragon's Vengeance, and in PvP 6v6, it is up all the time. You're going to have that extra charge time. That's flat out just a good thing, no matter what perks you put on it. Multiple times other fusions can't get off their burst before I down them, or when someone's sliding in with a shotgun, they don't get to me because this thing's so fast. Charge rate, it's a big deal. You add in the origin trait, makes it special, sets it apart a little bit, and the stats for it are great. Top shelf. Give or take a couple things, collectively, it's one of the best statted fusions per archetype in Destiny 2. And it's craftable. In the third column, Perpetual Motion, Overflow, Loose Change, Surplus, Enlightened Action, Encore, Slice. Final column, Under Over, Adagio, Deconstruct, Kickstart, Controlled Burst, Attrition Orbs, Hatchling. On the journey here for the Crucible, I tried all the combinations, really. Started off with things like Encore, Adagio, Charge Time Masterwork, Full Bore, Projection Fuse, and the idea is the range, right? Full Force is at 77 range on a rapid fire, which is good. But this is one of those situations where you're kind of turning it into something that it's not. Encore, not so good on a fusion. It only applies 1 stack after a kill. You can't crit with it. You can get to Encore 4, like right here. That's the 20 range. You get the accuracy. Stability is up. After that first kill, Adagio does more damage, plus 10 range as well. And it's kind of offset with the origin trait, with the charge time masterwork. Bolts are at 38, it's strong. But As far as a rangy rapid fire, we have something like Iterative Loop. No encore needed, just one kill. It's got killing wind adagio. That's 88 range, doing those 38s. Less work, more profit. You'd be a lot better off with that Iterative Loop. I tried things like Surplus or Perpetual Motion with Kickstart. Though nerfed, Kickstart's still really good. And it gels with the Origin trait as far as overall speed with the charge time. I think Surplus is just great. Perpetual Motion, you're running around anyway for Kickstart. I did full bore charge time masterwork, projection fuse, 48 range, 46 stability, just relying on speed and damage from Kickstart. It was okay, but in the end, I didn't like it. And where I settled and why I settled here, again, what can we do to elevate a weapon to make it perform the best? Or make it to where it's set apart from other things? And I watched Lego's video too. I tried it, and I do think that he's right on under over on this thing, because where I ended up is the charge time masterwork, full bore, projection fuse, surplus under over. And it checks the boxes for me. I have the speed of the rapid fire, I have the charge time masterwork, I have the origin trait, I have the range with full bore projection fuse, and I have the stability with surplus. And under over is the niche thing that it does. Surplus is 51 stability, 97 handling, 96 reload. Even at times 1, it's 31 stability. At times 2, it's 42 stability. So everything's accounted for. Under over, 20% more damage to overshields and woven mail, which if you played the Crucible, everywhere, every game, one or the other or both. Eats through Titan overshields, Warlock rifts, woven mail, and you still have the speed to double up the shots if all the bolts don't connect on your first burst. So in the end, I think that completes it for the Crucible. I do value Surplus for the stability to keep my shots on at a distance, all the ranged perks for the distance. It holds its own, it does, but there's a ton of great PvP fusion rifles. That's why I have it in that midline 2.5 stars, because that can sway towards more bad for you or better for you. It's going to depend on the player. It does get the job done though. It's a strong archetype, but it depends on where you find value. The other perks, not so much, including Slice. So as a special weapon, especially a rapid fire fusion, you want to be in and out. If you have 2 shots, you slice them with the first one, you're going to be following up anyway with your fast rapid fire, and they're going to be down. And then something like Hatchling, not so much on this thing. But now I want to get into PvE. A great weapon here, again, checks a lot of boxes. Solo play, team play, and if you see someone using it in like the later ends of the coil, or even in a GM, or in damage phases for mini bosses, like I don't think people are going to bat an eye at all if you have this thing equipped. It's great at base, but gets a whole lot better with the artifact. We have a long season for this artifact. First, where you should not go. Loose Change, Perpetual Motion, Encore, Deconstruct, Attrition Orbs, Hatchling. There's better perks available. It was something like Hatchling, it takes 3 kills to spawn it. It's not worth it. It can't crit. What it boils down to, in the third, Overflow or Slice, paired with Controlled Burst. Controlled Burst, great perk. We saw it recently with Glacioclasm. And what not talked about is Tachyon, man. It's craftable too. Rewind rounds, Controlled Burst. 20% more damage after that first initial burst after it lands. You also get a faster charge time. And that helps this thing, again, that whole theme, going along with the charge time masterwork, the origin trait. And with this weapon, it stacks up to the competition. Cartesian's Vorpal, Chill Clip from Riptide, those are great. But this thing being a Strand rapid fire, it might be the best, because with it being Strand, first of all, you can get Unravel going on it with the Strand kit, or simply the artifact mod that we have for unraveling orbs. That's all going to be added in. We have Torch. While Radiant, you deal increased damage to combatants affected by Strand or Stasis debuffs. But the real choice and preference is Slice versus Overflow. Both of these are great. Slice debuffs the enemy, they deal 40% less damage. Overflow just doubles that mag. Get a lot of shots off. I'm going to suggest Slice, and here's why. First, we can talk about take in and consider the artifact. With Sever, that's the debuff. So if you're on a solar sub, you're going to have that increased weapon damage. Not to mention all the other solar things, Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability, weakens champions and bosses. We have Solo Operative if you're solo. We're continuing in the Year of the Rocket with Argent Ordnance. There's a lot to like. Even without that artifact mod taken into consideration, making an enemy deal 40% less damage, you doing more, wailing on them with Controlled Burst, I believe is where it's at, that survivability. And in a team setting, it's helpful, super helpful actually. And remember, you can sever immune targets well before a damage phase if they're immune. You have a ton of play loops like Dragon's Breath, Sunbracers, Solar Sub, all that's kicking. Fire Dragon's Breath, let it cook, throw a grenade, whatever, you have that debuff, you're Radiant. Pop the Rift, hit him with a fusion, Sever, Controlled Burst, switch back to Dragon's Breath. It's great. There's a ton of combinations, like Slice Controlled Burst with a Radiant sub with Sunshot and bait and switch Apex Predator. And with Overflow, that's it. More rounds. And that's fine. That's cool. But a couple things you need to remember. First of all, the reload isn't that bad. And if you start off with Slice, you can do a ton more. You can do your rockets, come back to it, then controlled burst. I'm going to take that every single time. And how I have mine set up, it's hammer forge rifling, projection fuse, charge time masterwork, slice, controlled burst. I also have on a backup mag, so the magazine's at 8. After 8 rounds, you do a reload. But also remember, Dragon's Vengeance is there. It might overflow in the first place because the origin trait. If you're in a team setting, if someone goes down, it's going to refill. And if you're solo, you sever them and they're still chipping you down and you get into red health, it's going to refill then too. So I suggest you just go with Slice because it's got it kind of built in already. And Slice is really beneficial no matter where you are. Very powerful perk. So in closing, I want to bring up that scorecard. Even when the season that never ends finally ends, it's still going to stand tall. It's plug and play. And with the Crucible, it boils down to its speed. I think it can be faster than most fusions with that trait Masterwork. It can take out overshields, but then again, so can a Glacioclasm, so can other ones. It's a great weapon, and this is how I have it marked. I would love to hear your thoughts and where your rankings would be for each category. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Scatter Signal down below, and I plan to use this format going forward with my reviews because some of those things stand out a little bit more. Like for some weapons, there's a huge fun factor, but not meta relevant. So I would focus on that a little bit more. And it's nice to come back and reference certain things about that initial scorecard as I go through the review. So I hope you guys liked it. If you didn't, let me know that too. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.